So in this video we're going to cover another way of improving your kicks. So what I'm doing here is following on from the last video where we push with the shin extending through in order to get that hip action. This involves bending the hip at the knee crease, tucking the knee, chambering it. As you turn with the body, you turn with that hip that's about to kick. What you don't want to do is disconnect from the hip that's kicking. So you drive the knee up and through. This keeps everything centralized down the line. So in this video we're going to cover another way of improving your kicks. So what I'm doing here is following on from the last video where we push with the shin extending through in order to get that hip action. So we bring the knee up, push through and extend the knee through at the same time as thrusting with the hip. So what I'm saying here is I sink the weight down onto my standing foot on the outside edge of the foot. This stabilizes me completely and ensures activation of the whole leg. So it's the same thing as before. Knee comes up, push in whilst leaning back and sinking onto the outside edge of the standing foot. So it's important that I maintain contact with the hip and I lean back onto the outside edge of the foot that's standing. If I don't do this, the kick lacks stability. So this is me showing it on the left hand side. So in order to get that reach, you can lean back through the heel and you won't go anywhere. You'll be solidly stuck to the floor whilst also able to turn because you're on the edge of the foot rather than the planted heel. Now the edge of the foot also plants the heel somewhat, but it maintains that ability and mobility. So as you can see, it's a very fast way of leaning out whilst staying connected with the hip, with the kick at the same time. So you want to maintain fluidity, keeping the knee high even as you come back. So as I come back, I re-chamber through the same pathway rather than just lazily and sloppily going down. It depends on the distance, how much I lean back. We can do it close. We can do it with the left, we can do it with the right. This is just me showing a few repetitions. So, the edge of the heel is like a dagger that sinks into the floor. Now, we want to stretch the hip before we bring it through. So there's an initial stretch. This stops compression of the back and the spine, allowing it to stretch. So you stretch across leaning, this stretches the hip you're about to kick, and then you can fire it across. Otherwise, everything's compressed. So we stretch and then drive up and contract the hip. So there's a stretch, an extension, and then a compression, a contraction. So we stretch the hip first, and then drive the knee forward. Stretch it back, drive it forward. Stretch, feeling the stretch across the front of the hip, and then drive in and forwards. This doesn't matter if you're kicking or kneeing. It's the same principle.